Listen to the podcast. Just search for Hancock and Kelley.
The presidential election is now just a little more than 3 weeks out. Democrat nominee Vice President Kamala Harris had a bit of a setback in what was supposed to be a softball interview with The View.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
She also said she was a key part in just about every big decision President Biden has made in his 3 years plus as president. She drank beer with anti-Trump late-night host Stephen Colbert. She rambled when she was grilled in an interview with 60 Minutes. It appears 60 Minutes intentionally altered at least one of her responses to show her in a more favorable light. Michael, what out of all of this was most helpful and hurtful to her campaign?
I think her presence out there. Look, we are into a turnout election, Andy. We're beyond the persuasion campaign. If you're still undecided, you're likely not going to vote or don't have a pulse. And so I think she's going on the platforms that she thinks can move voters in the last couple of weeks here. I think she did fine. Of course, she stumbled. That's going to happen. But when the other side's continuing to deny an election, you can make a mistake or two and say, I'm still grounded in reality.
Do her stumbles matter in a meaningful way if, like, the vote's kind of locked in, like Michael's talking about?
She's a bad candidate, and she has been a bad candidate her entire career. She had that magnificent honeymoon period after they kicked Biden out the door that ran through the debate. That's over now, and people are being reminded what you're getting here. I think you're looking at a very, very close election.
Now to the other side, the Republican nominee, former President Donald Trump, he's been hitting key swing states. He was in California, though, for some reason, too. Here he is in Scranton, Pennsylvania. It's a later stop in Michigan that really has people talking now. While campaigning on the economy at the Detroit Economic Club, he said, quote, "Our whole country will end up being like Detroit if Harris is your president. You're going to have a mess on your hands." Like St. Louis, Detroit has endured decades of high crime, economic downturn, and massive population loss, but it is having a bit of a rebound now, John. Is that any way to campaign?
Oops.
In a state that might decide the election?
Oops. Yeah, not his finest moment right there. And, Donald Trump's a very non-traditional kind of candidate, and there he goes.
But how badly did he hurt himself?
Oh, it did. Well, it didn't help.
Could it cost him the state?
That's not going to cost him Michigan, but it certainly didn't help.
Yeah, which makes me wonder if it was somewhat intentional. Let's think about the state of Missouri, right? Donald Trump's trying to win the electoral votes. If you're trying to win Missouri, saying not positive things about St. Louis to the rest of the state tends to play well. That's unfortunate, and I think that's what I also think it's coded in a racial narrative there that he's trying to push to. So that's Donald Trump.
What do you think about that? Is that some racial code? I mean, he's up there really courting black voters, isn't he?
Well, in fact, he's performing better among black African-American male voters than historically any Republican has. So this was a mistake.
Any benefit to going to California for him? He's gone to New York. I mean, does it show? I mean, shouldn't Republicans at least show that they care about
Donald Trump goes to where his constituencies are, and that's the cameras. And it makes sense to be in California and New York. Heck, his last political rally before this election is going to be in Madison Square Garden. Trust me, he's going to lose New York.
Yeah, but you go to New York and California to raise money, and if you work in a public appearance, it's going to get covered. So the geography really doesn't matter that much.
All right, still to come on Hancock and Kelley, Kansas City Chiefs ownership throwing big money into an effort that would keep Missouri's total ban on abortion in place, and the politics of devastating hurricanes in the home stretch of this presidential campaign.